Yo, what's going on, boys? This weekend I got beat up on the boat. This is the first time I've ever gone tubing, and it was fun, And so I started stepping outside of my comfort zone on this box that I know, and started doing things that I've never done before, and stepping out with utmost confidence. In what? In the fact that I've done it before? No, in me. And so when you finally have that confidence of yourself to be able to step out and do things because you trust yourself, you're gonna be able to unlock this whole new world that you never knew existed. So, guys, I wanna talk about you failed before on something. Why would next time even matter? I know that I've had this question before where it's like, I tried really hard last time, why would this time work? And when you have that negative mindset thinking, it's just gonna go downhill from there. So, for example, when I was in college, I studied mechanical engineering at A&M, okay? Now, many of you guys have heard this story before, and some of you, maybe you haven't, but I failed a class 3 times. And this is one of those classes that you have to pass in order to continue on. And do you know how many late nights I would just sit there staring at the sky being like, I just want to go fly airplanes. Like, I'm done with this nonsense. I'm tired of everybody playing games, because it always seemed like the tests never looked like the homework that you were doing, never looked like the quizzes. And ultimately, it would just irritate me a lot. And it's like, what's the point of even trying? Why should I even try again? I got a 69.9 and the guy wasn't gonna round to 70. I think that's what it was, because I called him up, the professor, and he says, yeah, we're not rounding up. We already did all the rounding. Basically, you're just not good enough. And so when you have those ideas cemented in your mind, especially at a young age where it's like, you're not good enough, you don't stack up to the rest of the competition, why would you even try? It's better just not to even play the game. And so I think it comes down to how bad do you want it? I could have quit a long time ago. I had every opportunity. I had every right to quit. When I was in band in high school, I had the opportunity to be a section leader because I want to lead men. I always wanted to be a leader. But because I wasn't fitting into the stereotypes and because I wasn't in the in crowd, right? All of a sudden it was like, oh, you're not gonna get this. And so what did I do? Next time I didn't apply. I said, why is the point? I don't care. And why was that? Because it wasn't important to me. And I was doing it for the wrong reasons, I guess. It was like, oh, well, I think I can be a leader. Well, no, you can't. And I bought that as a young kid. As a 16, 17-year-old, buying the fact that you're not good enough because you weren't here in the mornings constantly, because you didn't wake up on time and you weren't here busting down doors trying to be the best. And as a young kid, I really didn't care. Now that I'm older, I understand that value of discipline and trying to go after your passions and your dreams much more, but it has to be something you really are passionate about. And I was the person that, guys, I was super shy and I didn't want to be the center stage. That's changed a lot now. And that was due to exposure therapy, by going out wearing a gold jacket in the middle of class, by talking to random strangers, by inviting girls out and feeling that fear of rejection constantly, right? And just being a nice person, but at the same time having that ego that could be broken down. But it was already getting broken down anyway from a young age, so it didn't matter. And so from there, what happened? It was very interesting to see, the progression of, oh, well, you're gonna fail a class 3 times? Cool. Why haven't you given up yet? Because it was so important to me. I said, well, I've made it this far and I love challenges and I like math. Why can't I do this? And to me, it was more of just like this, I can do it and I have to prove it to myself versus anything else. Plus, I was paying for it all on my own. So if I'm gonna have $100,000 that I paid for college, I kind of want something out of it, you know what I mean? Not to just quit, because I had seen some of my friends go to college and then quit because of, they couldn't handle it or they didn't like their major or whatever. I never condoned and endorsed the idea of going to college undecided and not knowing what you want to do, to try to find yourself. Like, I went in there with a purpose and a mission, and that, I think, as men is huge, because when we know what we want, we go and we relentlessly attack it. We have systems in place and we attack. And that's what I had. I had my systems in place. I was not the kind of person to go to the library and go study. Okay? I didn't like that. It was too many distractions, too many people doing different things. I said, you know what? I want to be in my room with my setup alone so I can actually focus in and study on what I need to get done. I said, I'm going to study from this time to this time. I literally scheduled out blocks, things I wanted to do. I'm going to go grab dinner at this time. And it wasn't, oh, I don't feel like it. No, I went and I did it and I executed on it. When finals would come around, what did I do? I sat there and used that much paper of just writing down notes. I never pulled an all-nighter. Why? Because I had my time on point. I had my time blocks. I had my systems in place. If I didn't have any of those systems in place, it would have been a nightmare. I can only imagine the kind of bags I'd have under my eyes from just staying up all night, being a degenerate, drinking and everything else. Never involved myself with any of that stuff because I was there for a mission and a job. And that was to get a degree and to get a good job, which is what I did ultimately. And a lot of people don't make it. They told me, people on your left, people on your right won't be there when you graduate. So I ask you again, if you say, why bother again when I've failed? How bad do you really want it? And what reasons are you doing it for? When I was doing the band stuff in high school, I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I just wanted to do it because someone told me that, hey, I should try out because I'm, an upperclassman and it's the right thing to do. And yeah, I wanted to be a leader. But at the same time, I at that point in my life, I wasn't at the point where I was I need to be a leader. It was just kind of it'd be cool, but I was still insecure. I was still shy. I was still bullied and all that, and I hadn't gone through the exposure therapy that I needed yet. I wasn't ready to be a leader, and that's completely okay. The other thing with the Air Force, for example, okay, you guys know, first time. Why should you try again if you didn't get it? The odds are stacked against you. You shouldn't even bother. All of these negative thoughts, completely ignore. My girlfriend who applied 100 jobs to get one interview, to get one job offer. Why would I try again? I'm getting all these rejections. That's not what she was saying. That's what I was thinking. If I was in her shoes, why would I keep applying again? Because we keep going until it's over. It's not over until I win. You've heard that. I think it's Les Brown, one of those motivational guys. It's not over until you win. And it just depends on how bad you want it. That's all. And I had an unshakable faith that was out of this world, that I was hearing all these things. Oh, people aren't hiring from outside the company. It's a bad job market right now. You'll be lucky if they get an interview. I didn't listen to any of that noise because I know what my God told me. And he said, you're going to get through this. And because we brought him along every part of the way. And that was me in college. I remember coming out getting a 28 in the physics test. I said, God, what am I doing here? I said, I'm a freshman. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I just got out of the Corps of Cadets because that wasn't going to be for me. I said, what am I supposed to do? You get out of the test and everyone wants to mingle and be like, ooh, what did you get for answer 5? It's nobody cares. What, to make yourself feel better? And I never listened and stayed around for any of that talk. I got my music back on and I got back on my bike. My bike and running around campus was my therapy. To just listen to some good music and to just burn off some steam, to go home and have a good night rest and be ready for the next day. And ready for the next fight and the next battle. Because ultimately, it's the war that we won. And we may not win every battle, but we win the war. At the end of that semester, they had a final. I got an A on that test. Ended up with a B in the class for getting a 28 on a physics test. You don't think that makes you feel like a failure? You got a 28 on a test. And the thing is I did so well in high school. And for someone to come in and say that you're a loser. No, I don't think so. And I wasn't going to put up with that from anybody. And so the moment I said, you know what, this is when I learned. I divorced stress a long time ago. I quit caring about the GPA. I really did. I don't care. Oh, well, C's get degrees, but C's don't get jobs. Nonsense. I got a job with one of the best companies in America, and I didn't even tell them my GPA. They didn't even care. So I never believed the lies. And so guys, I don't want you to ever believe the lies. And so when you have those feelings of, well, I failed, why should I even try again? I failed at the gym. I failed on my diet again because I didn't keep the promises I made to myself. I said I was going to go today, but someone called me and, I couldn't do it because I was too busy talking to them on the phone because I didn't have the boundaries to say, you know what, I'm done. I have these things I need to do. Thanks for calling. I only have a short amount of time. Text me. Something like that. I think a lot of times people have issues with boundaries too, where it's like, I don't want to say no to this person because then they're not going to like me anymore, or they're not going to want to call again. It's like, no, it's not that. What I like to say is when someone calls me up and says, hey, look, I really want to talk to you, but I only have a few minutes. That right there tells them that one, you're interested, but two, you do have other things going on and you can't just be on the phone forever. So when you do have to go, it's not a big deal. This to me is huge. So, guys, when you feel like a failure, when you feel like, why should I even bother again? Remember the why. Remember your why and how bad do you want it? If you really don't want it, then it doesn't matter, I suppose, right? But I'm telling you right now, every single time that I've made it happen, it's because I really wanted it. When I built the Knight Rider car that I have sitting in the garage over here, I could have listened to all the voices saying, well, this isn't the perfect car. The door doesn't line up perfect. This is going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to do it all alone because nobody cares. I would not have had 11,000 followers on Instagram with people all over the world commenting, wow, that's my dream car. And I comment back and I say, your dreams can come true as well. Stop believing the lies. And just because you failed once doesn't mean you'll fail again. And God wants to see that you try again. Okay? Has to be a little bit of resilience there. Don't just give up after the first shot. If it's the second or third time, maybe consider other alternatives. Or understand the deeper meaning about why you were led that direction. For me, for the Air Force, I don't think it was to be an officer, actually. I think it was to lead in this way. But in order to get there, I needed to get closer to God so that I would take him through the process over these last 2 years so I could heal a lot of different traumas that I had along my life, so that I can bring you guys the full version of myself. And so I can bring him along with this process too. And so everything happens for a reason, guys. Believe that. Continue to improve each day. And yeah, hope you guys are doing good. In a world full of fakeness and deception, like I always say, continue to dominate your reality, becoming the best version you can in all areas of life. And I'll see you guys in the next video.